know that. Respectfully, don't think that I'm bombarded, but how can you not know that when
I'm
you've
just
got
a normal person, ex-forces in this country. And
so
I'm
you're talking about a form...
security.
Well, what about if I use the phrase concentration camp? That would be too emotive, right?
No, I think that's emotionally charged.
Yeah, I do
really,
too. But that's what we're talking about.
I'm not accepting that. What I'm talking about...
Well, it'd be a concentration of people in a camp.
Listen, I'm not
called for by people who don't know that you can't come here via a safe and legal route. Like people like you, Greg.
Well, perhaps Andy Burnham should...
What is up, everybody? Harry here. This is James O'Brien on LBC with a caller named Greg, whose frustrated politicians aren't listening on immigration. Right as anti-migrant disturbances are flaring up over the South summer, O'Brien starts asking for specific numbers. How much have small boat crossings gone up in the last year? And Greg's whole framing starts to wobble. Then comes the moment that really matters. Greg doesn't know there's no legal, safe route to apply for asylum from abroad because it was closed years ago. This is a genuine, contested immigration policy debate with real numbers worth checking carefully. So let's get into exactly what holds up. But get subscribed if that's useful to you. Let's get into it.
What circumstances might you expect an angry mob to be trying to break into your home in the middle of the night? What do you think you might have been accused of doing for that to happen? 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. At 10:38 is the time. Greg is in Harlow. Greg, what would you like to say?
Good morning, James. Thanks for having me on. Listen, I think the point of this is the frustration that the government and Andy Burnham isn't actually listening to people, which is actually making people want to go to these riots. I'm not supporting violence. I'm not supporting break-ins. I'm not supporting any of that. What I'm saying is the right to actually protest is the only thing we've got left when our ministers don't listen.
What percentage do you think small boat crossings have gone up by in the last year?
Since 2018, over 200,000.
In the last year? Because Andy Burnham's only been Prime Minister for 2 weeks, mate.
Absolutely,
You can't be sticking it. So just in the last year, how much do you think they've gone up by?
They've gone down.
By how much?
I think about 30%.
45%.
45%.
So how are they not listening?
They're not listening. They haven't been listening for a long time.
So why have they done that then?
The reason being is, as I say, we have got food shortage in this country.
What?
We are coming into a bad time because of the weather.
No, why have they done this? Why have they introduced laws to... Let's look at... No, you are. Let's look at legal migration. How much has that gone up by in the last year?
I wouldn't know that.
Okay, so it was 944,000 in the year to March 20...
But the point is that
no, numbers are the point. Numbers are the point. We've just talked about the boats. They're down 45%.
You ask people to phone in, and when you do, you're not listening to what they say.
I am. You're saying that the politicians aren't listening to you, and I'm saying why then have the numbers gone down by 45%?
Because possibly the French are doing their job properly.
So the problem is getting smaller?
The problem is getting smaller.
And why are the French doing their job properly?
Until actually our ministers listen and say that we've got problems with illegal...
let's not fall out. You can't have it both ways. They can't be plummeting. They can't be coming down. But they can't be coming down by 45% in a country where...
I really like your programme.
In a country...
And I really try to say something and you're not listening.
I've listened to what you've said. You said the politicians aren't listening.
Are you for illegal immigration? Do you want immigrants coming into this country?
I think we should have a decent refugee policy and we should open up safe routes so they can get here and don't have to risk...
people that come into this country illegally...
You're accusing me of not listening. You're accusing me of not listening. I can't get a word in edgeways. So let's just focus on facts, all right? Not feelings, but facts.
Okay.
The facts are that the politicians who aren't listening to your concerns about small boats have somehow presided over a 45% fall in numbers.
Which is good. I agree with that.
The politicians who aren't listening to broader concerns about immigration have somehow presided over a fall from 944,000 to 171,000 in the last 3 years.
Come.
An absolutely epic decline and fall.
Well, one thing I would like to say before you chop me off...
I'm not going to chop you off. I just want you to acknowledge why the politicians... Why have the politicians done this?
I'm worried about this country and the safety of this country.
Why have the politicians...
200,000 since 2018.
Why have the
forces we've got left? The Army, the Air Force,
and
the Navy. We are outnumbered with the police as well.
Greg, why have the politicians introduced policies that have reduced these figures so starkly?
I am really welcoming that.
No,
really
I want you to
welcoming
answer
that.
the question. Why have they done it?
Because perhaps they're concerned as well.
Right, so they're listening.
Let's hope they listen more.
Well, what other answer is there to a fall from 944,000 to 171,000?
I'm just saying, put them into camps, protect them, put guards on them until they have actually been verified that they're safe.
Well, I think that the ones that were being housed in Thetford have been.
Yeah, but the point being is we've got bases that are not being used in this country.
And there's a protest outside one of those bases at the moment in Suffolk.
But they're not guarded. They are letting them out.
There's no one in it. There's no one in it yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is not going to be guarded once they're in there.
But there's no one in it, and the protests are already there. So you want them to be? You
because
want prisons, effectively.
Oh no, I don't want prisons. I want them to be guarded until they've been documented and okayed, and then they're official.
And the people that have been put in the homes in Thetford have been.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that perhaps.
What are you saying, Greg? Because I think you speak for a lot of people. And hang on, no, I just want to say a few things. Because 67% of people who don't like immigration or think it's too high, they think it went up last year. And it went down by loads. 6 in 10. No, I know, but I think you're speaking for a lot of people who perhaps are in that category. 6 in 10 people who would like to see immigration reduced, like you would, believe it is still rising, when in fact it is coming down at a rate of knots.
Absolutely. I'm pleased to see that.
So what would be your ideal case scenario?
What I would like is Andy Burnham, now he's in actual post, to actually, people who come on small boats are in a secure location to protect them and also to protect us and get documented until they've been documented and then either authorised or unauthorised, because we haven't got the facilities or the food or anything. I'm all for legal immigration when they bring something to this country and help us and we help them. Well, I don't want to see all these boats coming across undocumented. We haven't got the forces.
So they should be kept under lock and key, and I'm not being emotive, until it's been proved that their asylum application is genuine.
Yes.
And then they'll move into a house in Thetford. Then they'll move into a house in Thetford. They'll move into a house. Oh, come on, Greg, we're being a bit.
Well, why don't they go do it the legal route then?
You can't. There isn't one.
Why can't they go to an embassy or something like that?
You can't. There isn't one, Greg.
Well, you can't walk up there and say, I'm looking for asylum.
No, not since the last government was in power.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
Sorry,
how can you not know that? Respectfully, don't think that I'm bombarded, but how can you not know that when you've got...
I'm just a normal person, ex-forces in this country. And
so you're talking about a form...
Security.
Well, what about if I use the phrase concentration camp? That would be too emotive, right?
No, I think that's emotionally charged.
Yeah, I do really, too. But that's what we're talking about.
I'm not accepting that. What I'm talking about...
It would be a concentration of people in a camp.
Listen, I'm not
called for by people who don't know that you can't come here via a safe and legal route, like people like you, Greg.
Well, perhaps Andy Burnham should listen to that and actually say. I know he said on TV that legal routes will have to be improved, etc., etc. I'm all for Andy Burnham. I hope he does well in post, but I don't think he's looking at the bigger picture. There was over 200,000 since 2018. I know they're coming down, but the point is we haven't got the food, we haven't got the resources to keep allowing them to keep coming in.
We haven't got the food.
At the moment, the situation is this country is not producing enough food, and we're going to have food shortages at the end. The farmers have just said that. It was on your news.
Okay. And that's another reason to oppose immigration. Before you go, and thank you for talking to me today.
I'm not as intelligent
don't shush now.
I just want to. I'm not as intelligent as you.
Well, you probably are, mate. It's just I went to an expensive school, so that's what people pay for. I'm not even joking. I promise you. But I just wonder.
I'm ex-forces. I see the worry.
I just wonder how big a deal in the course of this conversation you think it is that you had no idea that you couldn't apply for asylum safely or legally by walking in.
They're not talking about it. They're not talking about it.
But how big a deal do you think it is that you didn't know that?
I think it's down to our government that are getting paid quite well.
I want to talk about you, because you accuse them of not listening. It's really easy to...
worried that they haven't got a legal route to get into this country.
And yet, when you phoned me earlier today, you had no idea that that was the case.
No, I thank you for the information.
And your attitude towards the bigger issue hasn't changed at all.
But I don't
Has it?
want small boats undocumented coming into the country.
No,
and
and the best way to get rid of that is to process documentation in the ways that we were doing until the last government responded to. I think I can say people like you, can't I? That's not going to offend you. The last government responded to people like you by shutting down those routes, and just sort of, I don't know, crossed their fingers that things would get better. I really don't know. 10:46 is the time. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Greg, apart from that, of course, because, you know, this is a conversation about people lying in bed at night hearing a baying mob outside their home, and Greg is not alone in thinking that, yeah, it's not ideal.
Watch the net migration figures, O'Brien cites, because the top-line number checks out against official data. The Office for National Statistics does record a genuine peak of 944,000 net migration in the year to March 2023, described at the time as the highest level on record. That's a real, verifiable figure, not something invented for the call. Where it's worth being precise is on the endpoint. Published ONS estimates for the following years show net migration falling sharply, but the exact figure depends on which specific 12-month period you're measuring. Since these statistics get revised repeatedly as more data comes in and different reporting periods produce different totals. The general direction O'Brien describes, a steep and real decline from that peak, holds up against the data. The specific endpoint figure is the kind of detail worth checking against the most current release rather than taking as fixed, since these numbers are revised more often than most people realize. The claim about there being no legal route to apply for UK asylum from outside the country is worth stating plainly, because it's broadly accurate and often misunderstood, which is exactly the confusion Greg demonstrates live on air. Under current UK asylum law, there is no general mechanism allowing someone to apply for asylum status from an embassy or consulate abroad before traveling. Asylum claims can only be made once someone is physically in the UK or at its border, which is precisely why routes like small boats and other irregular crossings exist as the practical, if dangerous and illegal, way many asylum seekers reach the point where they can make a claim at all. That's not a minor technicality. It's a structural feature of the system directly relevant to any argument about why people don't simply do it properly. And Greg's genuine surprise at learning this mid-call is a real and fairly common gap in public understanding of how the system actually works, not a fabricated gotcha. The food shortage claim deserves separate treatment because it's introduced without the same level of specificity as the migration figures, and connecting general reports of tight agricultural conditions directly to immigration levels. The causal chain is a much bigger claim requiring its own evidence than either party in this call actually provides. It's fair to note that link is asserted rather than demonstrated in this exchange. What holds up most clearly across this whole call is the core logical tension O'Brien keeps returning to. A caller can genuinely believe politicians aren't listening while simultaneously being unaware of the specific, substantial policy changes, whether the sharp migration decline or the closure of overseas asylum application routes, that were made in direct response to exactly the concerns he's describing. That gap between perception and documented policy change is the most solid, checkable finding in the entire exchange, regardless of any other claim made around it. If breakdowns like this are useful to you, get subscribed to Harry Unfiltered, and I'll keep checking the numbers carefully, one call at a time. It's also worth crediting Greg for something specific in this call, separate from the factual gaps he updates in real time. When told the boat crossing figures, he doesn't dig in or dismiss them. He says plainly, which is good, I agree with that. That's a genuinely useful habit to notice and reinforce wherever it shows up, because plenty of callers in exchanges like this respond to being corrected by doubling down instead. Greg's underlying concern that the system needs proper processing and documentation rather than undocumented arrivals remains a coherent position throughout, even as the specific factual scaffolding underneath his frustration shifts. Significantly, over the course of the call,